last class of Wednesday, we were talking about epidemic. In the year 1848, an epidemic spread over half the world at that time, causing bodily disorder in the lives of many. Causes of viruses and their virulent bodily diseases were the result. The celestial movement also caused wars between countries, causing bloodshed and loss of life. Psychologically get affected, and we wrongly understand they're possessed by devils or demons. And the crude action and emotions, passions are usually dismissed due to the evil power of Satan or Saturn. Saturn is the belief that all the mischievous things or evil things are due to the satanical powers. This is the belief of the Christians. Now we'll move on. That is the previous paragraph of the notes which I shared with you. The authors of the unseen world, they say the seeds of vice. The seeds of vice means V-I-C-E, opposite of virtue. The author of the unseen world says the seeds of vice and crime appear to be sown under the surface of society, bringing out results with appalling rapidity. The author of the unseen world says, because the celestial influences, the seeds of vice and crime appear to be sown under the surface of society. So they become part of the society, they sprout in the society. The crime and the vice is opposite of virtue. So bringing out results with appalling rapidity means we wonder sometimes why so much is happening at such great speed, and resulting in paralyzing of some systems. So all that is going on well gets affected, gets paralyzed because of the influence of the celestial bodies. And the author says the seeds of vice means the germs or the beginning of vice and crime appear to be sown. The seeds have been sown under the surface of society, bringing out results with appalling rapidity and resulting in paralyzing of some systems. This is the first note we are making today, or first idea which we are considering today. So the celestial bodies, they have various influences on human beings. So we read in the previous paragraph last Wednesday that the epidemic is also one of the results of these movements of the celestial bodies. And then we talked about wars happening between countries. One country fighting a war with another country was also because of the movement in the celestial bodies. And because of the movement of celestial bodies, psychologically, human or man gets affected and he becomes actually mad or luna-struck or moon-struck. So we understand that system or that procedure which he's going through, or that method he's going through, as if he's possessed by demons. And the crude action and emotions and passions are usually dismissed due to the evil power of Saturn. So this is what we think. The Saturn has possessed him, or an evil power has possessed him. That's why he is behaving like that. But actually, it is because of the celestial movement that there is a change in his method of thinking. So he behaves differently. The actions are very crude. Emotions displayed are also not welcome, and passions are displayed. So all these things happen in a human being. So the author continues to say of the unseen world, that's the book's name, the seeds of vice, V-I-C-E, the opposite of virtue, and crime appear to be sown under the surface of society, bringing out results with appalling rapidity and resulting in paralyzing of some systems. So this is another aspect of the unseen world, which we are getting familiarized with. HPB says, when all this is happening, all these phenomena is occurring, phenomena meaning something which is not usual. HPB says, when all this is happening, all these phenomena occurring, science remains as a spectator, speechless. Science remains as a spectator, speechless. They don't have a clue as to why this is happening, because they have not got into the details of astronomy, the movements, the magnetism, and everything. So they say they don't have any clue as to what's happening. So HPB says, when all this is happening, all these phenomena are occurring, science remains as a spectator, speechless. They're not able to offer any explanation. Science doesn't even attempt to conjecture that is based on available information. Conjecture is not having full information with you, but still you're coming to some conclusion. That is conjecture. So science doesn't want to even do that. They don't want to attempt doing it. They don't want to even guess. So conjecture is a place where is a system where I don't have the information, full information, but still I make an intelligent guesstimate. Maybe this is what is going to happen. So even that they're not able to do. That is based on available information. Conjecture means based on available information, forming conclusions. That is what is conjecture is. Even that they don't want to do. What is the cause? What is the reason? Science is not able to explain, and they're remaining speechless. Scientists are remaining speechless. Science is not looking at anything. Science is not looking at anything except this earth on which we live, and can't look beyond for the hidden causes and influences which are affecting us day by day and even minute by minute. Scientists want something very material to work on. So science is not looking at anything super material or beyond material. Science is not looking at anything except this earth on which we live, and can't look beyond. It can't extend its vision or extend its work beyond matter. So science is not looking at anything except this earth on which we live, and can't look beyond for the hidden causes. There are hidden reasons, causes why all these things are happening, but science is not able to get into that area because they are only bothered about the material, whatever is happening on earth. So they beyond what is physical, they are not able to get into it. So that's the reason. Can't look beyond for hidden causes and influences which are affecting us day by day, even minute by minute. So these influences are happening on the human beings right through. There's no interval between. So now HPV goes to Mr. Proctor. Mr. Proctor, who thinks the ancients are ignorant, Mr. Proctor, who thinks the ancients are ignorant, he understood what the ancients said about these effects. Mr. Proctor, who thinks the ancients are ignorant, understood what the ancients said about these effects. That means the movements of the celestial bodies and what's happening. That Proctor said the ancients knew something about it. The relationship between each planet with one another can be compared with corpuscles of blood, which is known to us. So he says the relationship between each planet, one planet having a relationship with another planet, and all the planets moving in certain direction based on the magnetic power between those planets, all this, the relationship between each planet with another can be compared with corpuscles of blood. We have the white corpuscles and the red corpuscles in our blood. So we can perhaps equate and understand what exactly corpuscles means, and can extend the understanding to the movement or the effects of the celestial bodies or planets. The relationship between each planet with another can be compared with corpuscles of blood, which is known to us. So one planet affects the other planet, and the effects of this will also affect the nature, and these depend on the size of the planet, the distance between the planets, and so many other factors like their activities, etc. This is what Proctor is saying. So one planet affects the other planets and also affects nature. And these effects depend on the size of the planet, distance between the planets. So what determines what action will happen is based on the size of the planet and the distance between each planet. That's what Proctor is suggesting. So Proctor, Mr. Proctor, that's the name of the person. He says the effects which also affect the nature, these effects depend on the size of the planet, distance between the planets, and so many other factors like their activities, etc. Right? The intensity of the planet's action, and the resultant impulses. The intensity of the planet's action and the resultant impulses affect the ether, akasha, not the sky, something which is there all over. So the intensity of the planet's action and the resultant impulses affect the ether. Sometime back he said the effects also cause some changes in nature, because most of this, what do we call, tremendous amount of rain or tidal waves, all these are because of the planet movements. So it affects the nature, and these effects depend on the size of the planet, distance between the planets, and so many other factors like their activities, etc. Next he says the intensity of the planet's action and the resultant impulses affect tsunamis. Tsunamis are also part of that, they say, but actually tsunamis, some people explain as an earthquake taking in the sea. But then how the thing matures into a tsunami, perhaps some people take it to the movement of the planet. So intensity of the planet's action and the resultant impulses, the action and the resultant impulse, the force which are set forth because of the action, they affect the ether and the astral light, magnetism, and other subtle forces. So the action of the planet, the effects of the planet, they in turn affect the ether and the astral light. That's one and the same, ether and the astral light, magnetism, and other subtle forces. Then she moves to another topic for a brief while. Music, says HPB, is a combination and modulation of sounds. From this planet's movement, just she has taken a detour, slightly she has moved away from this subject. She is talking about music. Music, says HPB, is a combination and modulation of sounds. Modulation means changes which appear in the notes that produces sounds. Sounds are the effects produced by the vibrations of the ether. There is a connection. Ether is moved by the planet's action and the impulses of the planet's action. Now she is writing, music, says HPV, is a combination and modulation of sounds. The sounds, when they are sounded differently, the notes which are there are elongated or shortened and things like that, music is formed. So modulation brings in sounds. Sounds movement also produces music. Sounds are the effects produced by the vibrations of ether. So when there is a vibration in the ether, there is a music produced. There is music produced. The impulses of each planet to ether can be compared to notes of musical instrument. The impulses of each planet to ether can be compared to notes of a musical instrument. Suppose we have Veena, you produce the 7 sounds or the 6 sounds, and What she says is the impulses, the changes which happen due to the action of the planets, of each planet, and the impact which has on the ether can be compared to notes of a musical instrument. So if the musical instruments are taken as a yardstick, then we can understand what the impulses are and how each planet's action is affecting the ether. Pythagoras conceived the idea of the music and its spheres. Pythagoras conceived the idea of music and its spheres. Spheres means the area where it will operate or the circle within which it operates. Spheres, sphere. Pythagoras conceived the idea of music and its spheres. Some planets may cause disturbances to the ether. Some planets may cause disturbances to the ether. So the effects could be positive sometimes it may be destructive, or it may be causing disturbance to the ether. Some planets may, through their impulses, create harmony. So some of the planets, some of the outcome of the actions of the planets, they cause, or the impulses cause or create harmony. Some create disturbances. So both are there. So Pythagoras conceived the idea of the music and its spheres. Some planets may cause disturbances to the ether. Some planets may, through their impulses, create harmony. Harmony is a beautiful sound which is pleasant to hear. It is not fancy. It's not fancy what Pythagoras conceived, says H.P. Blavatsky. He has not said something which is invented. Pythagoras has not invented anything. It's a fact. So HPB says it's not a fancy what Pythagoras conceived, says H.P. Blavatsky. Certain kinds of music, she's saying, continuing, certain kinds of music disturbs us. Certain kinds of music elevate us to a divinely state. Certain kinds of music disturbs us. Certain kinds of music elevates us to a divinely state. All human beings respond to vibrations in the atmosphere and in music. So this is the statement of Pythagoras on music and what HPB has to say in support of it. So Pythagoras said music, and there are spheres attached to the music. Some planets may cause disturbances to the ether. Some planets may, through their impulses, create harmony. But before that, what we understood was the effects will be compared to notes on a musical instrument. The effects on the ether can be compared to the notes of a musical instrument. After that, Pythagoras stepped in and said he conceived the idea of the music and the spheres attached to it. Some planets may cause disturbance to ether. Some planets may, through their impulses, create harmony. So both are possible. It is not a fancy what Pythagoras conceived, says H.P. Blavatsky. Certain kinds of music disturb us. Certain kinds of music elevate us to a divinely state. So that's the quality of music. Some types of music, they're very disturbing. Some really soothing, and they will elevate us to a different state of atmosphere, maybe divinely state. All human beings respond to vibrations in the atmosphere and to music. So human beings do respond to vibrations in atmosphere and music. We were told even animals and plants also respond. Of course, this is not here, I'm just adding. Animals and plants also respond to music. Perhaps nature responds to music. We can take that. HPB says there is a lot of influence of colors on us. Colors. Music is over. Now she's talking about colors. HPB says there is a lot of influence of colors on us. Some colors give us excitement. Some colors give us excitement. Some cause soothe feeling. Some colors give us a pleasant feeling. Red color inflames anger in animals. Red color inflames anger in animals. And it is said we become red when we are angry. So the rushing of the blood to the face makes it red. So HPB says there is a lot of influence of colors on us. Some colors give us excitement. So they cause excitement, means it's something like a frenzy. When that color is there, there's a frenzy, and we keep acting in a maybe in a different way, not soothing way, not something pleasant, but then we are excited. So we perhaps shout and do something like that. That is one color. Some cause a soothed feeling, a softening feeling. Some colors give us a pleasant feeling. There is happiness when we have that color with us. Red color inflames anger in animals. And she talks about the nuns wear black color. The nuns wear a black color. Why? Why they wear a black color? They say it's a symbol of their trying to submerge all their feelings and dedicate themselves to God, their God, Christ. The nuns wear black color. The bride wears white color. So these are all choices of colors which are usually practiced. I think nuns also wear various other colors, and she talked about black color. The nuns wear different colors, but she talked about the black color. Some wear brown, some wear a cement color like thing, so gray color, and so many varieties are there. But all of them, they're only giving a symbol, they're conveying that they're all dedicated to the service of the Master, who is Christ. So the bride wears white color. When these colors and music influence, they form an influence on us, we can take it for granted that combined stellar influences and its vibrations, says HPV. So when colors affect us, when music affects us, it's all because the movement to the celestial bodies or the planets, they are causing all these changes in notes of music as well as in colors appearing. So when they are showing their effect on us, it means the combined stellar influences, means all the planets, all the stars put together, all those things are having the influence on us. So the vibrations are the result of these influences, says HPV. So we talked about music, we talked about colors, how music affects us, how colors affect us, because there is a vibration, basic vibration taking place in the ether, and ether and music have got connection, ether and colors have got connection. So whenever there is a change happening in the movement of the planets, or for that matter celestial bodies, there is the predominant first change happening in ether, and through ether it's coming on to the music and also coming on to the colors, and music as well as colors, they affect the human being. In fact, the vibrations of the ether and other music or color, they affect the human being. That's what HPV is saying. Now, HPV is talking about Dr. Elam, E-L-A-M. That's the name of the person. Dr. Elam must be a scientist. Dr. Elam says, E-L-A-M, Elam says that there are pathological conditions that will show a tendency to become an epidemic. Pathological condition means pathology is the subject which we use to find out how diseases are caused by the various bacteria and things like that. Pathological study is what we do in the laboratory when we give our blood or whatever. So Dr. Elam says that there are pathological conditions, means that these conditions of pathological nature, they appear, and that will show a tendency to become an epidemic. So epidemics are formed like this. There is a first, the sign of it, the pathological conditions are created, the viruses or whatever, they are formed, and because of that, we have the epidemic. So Dr. Elam's statement says that there are pathological conditions created, and that will show a tendency to become an epidemic. that will transform into epidemic. The conditions, pathological conditions, when it affects human beings, and then the diseases start. So it becomes an epidemic, means a continuous thing which goes from one person, another person, another person, another person. So we call it an epidemic of huge proportion. The exact causes are yet to be investigated. The exact causes are yet to be investigated because people have seen that there is something happening. There is some pathological evidences found, but how those pathological evidences have come into being, there's no way which people are very clear about it. The exact causes of the pathological conditions appearing on the scene, we're not able to say why it has come. So the exact causes are yet to be investigated. There are certain conditions that promote the tendency to run all these things into a big epidemic. So the conditions which are there in the world, the physical conditions which are there in the world, and the pathological conditions which are happening because of the movement of the celestial bodies or planets or the effect of that in the ether, they produce a tendency to promote epidemic or to see that the epidemic comes out. The pathological conditions are the root cause. But the exact causes, how the pathological conditions have been created, nobody is able to say. It has not been investigated so far. There are certain conditions that promote the tendency to run small diseases. So diseases turn into epidemics. So there are conditions which are promoted. There are certain conditions that promote the tendency. Promote the tendency means it enhances, the tendency gets enhanced and they run into epidemics. Then it is also observed, Dr. Elam says, the same ideas appear again and again in successive ages, causing, this is something very different, not with epidemic, but he's talking about a different subject. It is also observed, he says, the same ideas appear again and again in successive ages. Means it has happened in 1875, it can happen in 1975. That's what he means. It is also observed, he says, the same ideas appear again and again in successive ages, causing homicides, infanticide, suicide, poisoning, or any other diabolical, explosive human conceptions or tendencies. So these things happen over a period of time. It has happened now, it may happen after, say, 50 years or 100 years. But these things keep repeating. That's what Dr. Elam is saying. It is also observed, he says, the same ideas, the same reasons, same causes, same effects, they appear again and again in successive ages, but differentiated by a lot of period in between. Just like I gave an example, 1875 and 1975, they get repeated. So causing homicides. Homicides is someone of the same family killing his members of the family. That is homicide. And infanticide, we know what it is. The small infants getting killed even before they're born or immediately after they're born. They're called infanticide and homicides. And suicide, of course, we know this very clearly. What is a suicide? And poisoning or any other diabolical, explosive human conceptions or tendencies. So it could be something more than this, more than homicides, more than infanticide, suicide, poisoning, or any other diabolical, explosive human conceptions or tendencies. So these things happen at different epochs of time, at different periods of time separated by some number of years. So this is what he's saying. So homicides happen. Maybe they have happened in the past. They're again happening now. Similarly, the infanticide was happening sometime before. Now they're happening. So this is what he's saying. So all these are diabolical, means explosive. And these conceptions and tendencies are very dangerous, explosive, and diabolical. So this is what he has said. Then, in epidemics, we do not know the exact causes and how the epidemic spreads rapidly. Even now, I think we are finding it difficult. We really don't know how this present virus is spreading. In epidemics, we do not know the exact causes and how the epidemic spreads rapidly in a given period is something to be explored and found out. So this is something which we are not able to find out in the past and perhaps even now. In epidemics, we do not know the exact causes. What exactly caused these epidemics? We are not able to place our finger and say this is the reason. And how this epidemic spreads rapidly. It gathers speed very quickly. So we felt India was not affected sometime back in March or April, but now we are perhaps third or fourth country in the world. So how quickly the epidemic spreads rapidly in a given period of time is something to be explored and found out. So far they have not found out. So this is what Blavatsky madam is saying. All these are happening due to psychological facts and causes, and the exact causes are not yet investigated by the modern science. So this is psychologically something which happens in the mind. So here is the comment which they say, all these are happening due to psychological facts and causes, and the exact causes are not yet investigated by the modern science. So it's all guesswork, I guess. Maybe it's because of the mental frame of mind, all these things are happening, or because of virus, various reasons, but exact reasons, exact causes, they're not able to pinpoint. This is the problem. The modern science also is not able to investigate and find out what exactly is the reason why these epidemics are happening and why they are spreading so fast. What is the reason? So this is a comment in between. Now, Dr. Elam gives two instances of incidents caused by psychological facts. Because there is a mention of psychological facts, here comes Dr. Elam, who gives two instances or two examples of incidents caused by psychological facts. Psychological and two incidents. When you hear these incidents, I don't know whether anything of such nature has happened in our part of the country, but this is something which he is reporting. A girl of 17 years of age was arrested as she went on setting fire to dwelling units. This is the disease she had. A girl of 17 years of age was arrested as she went on setting fire to dwelling units. So she would go to each house and set it on fire. So that girl of 17 years had this psychological problem. So she went on doing this. That's one example he gave. She did it by instinct. She did it by instinct. Instinct is something which is second nature. We normally say we live with the help of the mind, whereas the animal lives with the help of the instinct. So instinctively means something like that, without wasting much time. Instinctively understand something. So she did all this by instinct. Immediately something strikes in her and she goes and torches some houses, or she puts those houses under fire. And an irresistible necessity. She's not able to stop herself from doing that. That is the need she feels, necessity she feels. Irresistible necessity and something which is driven by instinct. So that is the reason why that girl of 17 years of age, she went on setting fire to the dwelling units and she was arrested. So it is because of instinct and an irresistible necessity. She couldn't stop herself from doing that. Nobody could stop her. She couldn't stop herself from torching the houses or setting the houses on fire. Then similar thing with a boy. A boy also did the same. He said the appearance of flames excited him. That's the reason why he went on putting the houses under fire. He says, that boy says, appearance of flames excited him. He felt very excited when he saw the flames. So he went on burning houses. She went on torching houses, inflaming the houses. So this is what the case of a boy, and that was the case of a girl. Both were doing it by instinct and because of some irresistible necessity which was forcing them to do all that. So this is the examples of psychological reasons. The flames caused in him, in this boy, the flames caused in him a pleasing emotion, my God. So he was excited, he was very happy also because the flames were coming. The flames caused in him a pleasant or pleasing emotion. So this is the two examples. These are the two examples Dr. Elam gives for psychological facts which are disturbing a boy and a girl. Maybe there are a lot of other things, but he has said these two. Both of them did the same thing, but both of them were, one was a girl, the other one was a boy. Both were setting fire to the houses. And one felt excited when he saw the flames, the boy, and also he felt happy that he was doing it. Whereas the lady, the girl setting fire, she did it by instinct, and she thought there was an irresistible, compelling reason why she had to torch houses. Right. The flames caused in him a pleasing emotion. This is something which I am not able to understand. Flames normally will cause a bit of worry and fear, but this boy felt very excited and pleasing it was for him. A lot of murders reported in the press, were caused by irresponsible obsession, as if someone was goading them to perform such diabolical acts. So a lot of murders also were reported in the newspapers. That's what Elam says. A lot of murders were reported in the press, means those items were appearing as news item in the press, and they were caused by irresponsible obsession. See, obsession itself is a mental condition. He is obsessed to do something, means there's nothing anybody can do to stop him. He is obsessed. So that is one thing. And irresponsible obsession, there is no responsibility in that. So he doesn't know what he's doing. He's obsessed with an idea, and the same idea he is executing with a lot of irresponsibility. So a lot of murders reported in the press were caused by irresponsible obsession, as if someone was goading them to perform such diabolical acts, as if somebody was directing them. You go murder this fellow, go murder the other fellow, like that, as if somebody is forcing them or helping them to find their way to go and murder. So this is what was happening, and these were reported in the press. A lot of murders reported in the press were caused by irresponsible obsession, as if someone was goading them to perform such diabolical acts, dangerous acts. Now, the physicians say, so far they said it is psychological, so maybe a psychiatrist perhaps would have understood the reasons. But now a physician is saying, the physician says it is due to lunacy, means madness. Lunatic is mad fellow. It is lunar, is something to do with the moon, right? So lunacy is a product of moon. When the moon hits him, he becomes mad. He is called lunatic. Lunar power affecting his brain, he becomes mad. So the physician says it is due to lunacy, which is temporary. Only for a small period when he is making that mistake or committing that murder or torching the houses, it is there. After that, he is clear. He knows what he is doing, or he is perhaps living without that lunatic moments. So the physician says it is due to lunacy, which is temporary. But lunacy, has it been well explained by psychologists, is the question. So lunacy is something which physician is talking about. Physician is normal doctor who gives medicines when we have some small diseases like fever or etc. So he is called a physician, he is a doctor. He is saying it is because of the temporary lunacy. But psychologists have not come out with a real reason for it. So, but lunacy, has it been well explained? This is what she is asking. Okay, physician has talked about it, but psychologists, have they explained what it is due to? Psychologists, it's psychologist subject, but have they said what it is due to? No, it's not happened. That's the question, she says. Now, at this juncture, H.P. Blavatsky is bringing in Plato. HPB brings in Plato, who says man becomes a toy of the element of necessity. Man becomes a toy of the element of necessity. So there's a compelling reason where he feels he is necessitated to perform a particular thing. So Plato says man becomes a toy in the element of necessity. When the necessity is overtaking him, that element of necessity or that item of necessity, that tendency to behave because of the necessity, the man becomes a toy in the hands of that element. He is manipulated by that element. He gives in to that element. That's why whatever that element thinks or that particular tendency is forcing him to do, he does. So Plato, who says man becomes a toy of the element of necessity as he is part of this world, which is of matter. So that's another reason. Man becomes a toy of the element of necessity as he is part of this world, which is of matter. Because this world is full of matter, and because he is part of the world, because matter has been dominating in him, and the element of necessity is forcing him, man becomes a toy in the hands of that necessity, that tendency. That is to say, man has become a victim of need and necessity. He may be doing it because of need. There is an urgent need to do something, maybe to acquire something, to get something. Maybe that's the reason why he does that. Or it could be a necessity which is a product of his mind. Something is pushing him to do it. So man has become a victim of need and necessity as he continues to live in the world of matter. So the major reason why he is doing this is because he is lacking in spirit. He is immersed in matter. He is immersed in matter. He is lacking in spirit. So the person who is living in the matter, in association with matter, is becoming a victim of his need and necessity, and he is part of that world. He is part of this material world. So that's why these situations are emerging. Man is influenced by the external factors. Man is influenced by the external factors and causes. There are internal things also. Man has got a lot of internal things which also will affect his movement, his thinking, etc. But in general, what people observe, man is influenced by the external factors and causes. What is outside him? What is outside him? What are the causes which are acting on him from outside? The reasons, the causes which are outside him, he is influenced by those external factors and causes. Like daimonia. This is the word daimonia, which Socrates had. Socrates had this daimonia. She explains what daimonia is. Socrates had this daimonia. What exactly daimonia means? Daimonia is a state where he has an ideal of helping those, ideal means an object, ideal of helping those who are in less fortunate circumstances and feels extremely happy at the prospect of helping others. He is cheerful and is able to help others. This is the daimonia explanation. Man is influenced by the external factors and causes, like daimonia is what Plato continues to say. Plato continues to say that man is influenced by the external factors and causes, like daimonia, which Socrates had. Socrates had it. He had that. It's a good thing, I think, good practice. Daimonia is a state where he has an ideal of wanting to help those who are in less fortunate circumstances. And he feels extremely happy at the prospect of helping others. Not only that, he is cheerful and is able to help others. So these are all positive things. So this is what daimonia is. And so this is one reason why he becomes a very goody-goody person trying to help others. So this is one thing which was talked about. The one who is physically pure is happy. The one who is physically pure is happy. If his body is pure, it will help him to strengthen his astral body, or as Plato calls it, the higher mortal soul. So Plato says, the one who is physically pure is happy. Physically pure. Externally pure, does it mean that? The one who is physically pure is happy. If his body is pure, it will help strengthening his astral body, or as he calls it, the higher mortal soul. The higher mortal soul, mortal, it also has death. It is superior to physical. So that's why it's called higher mortal, because it has death, and it is called soul in their explanation. They only had three principles. Plato and others, they only had three principles, not seven as we're talking about it in theosophy now. So physically pure, one who is physically pure is happy. And if his body is pure, it will help strengthening his astral body, or as Plato calls it, his higher mortal soul. Higher mortal soul. They call it soul, though it's a body. We call it astral body. We call it etheric double. We call it lower mental body. We call it body, the physical body. Whereas they were referring to it because they were not able to see their body physically with these eyes. Nobody could see their body. So they used to call it soul, the higher mortal soul. Mortal means it will have death. So it's called the higher mortal soul. This higher soul will not go with the body and will not side or support the animal propensities or proclivity, meaning a tendency to choose to do something regularly which serves the base instincts. We understand astral body is a storehouse of all the desires. Is a storehouse of all the desires. All the desires which are emanating by observation, the brain sending a signal, the eye sending a signal to the brain perhaps wanting to have the sensation once more again. That's how the habits form, and the habits, satisfaction of the habits also take place. Here it is said, this higher soul will not go with the body and will not side or support the animal propensities or proclivity. The higher soul is superior as per Plato, and he says it will not support the body. Physical body may be doing something, but this higher mortal soul will not support that. That means it is distinctly superior in quality in life when compared to the physical body. Physical body may be doing something, but the higher mental or higher mortal soul will not go through with those motions. They will not do what the body, physical body is doing, and will not side or support the animal propensities or proclivity. So the animal propensities or proclivity means the ability to repeat that action again and again, the proclivity. So these are where Plato is saying they're associated with the physical body. Plato is saying that these animal propensities or proclivity are associated with the physical body. So the higher soul, higher mortal soul, will not go with the body and will not side or support the original propensities or animal propensities, not original, I'm sorry. Animal propensities or proclivity, meaning a tendency to choose to do something regularly. Proclivity means a tendency to choose to do something regularly which serves the base instincts. So something not very laudable about it. The repetition of something which will serve the base instinct means the body has to satisfy certain urges. So that is what is happening. And that tendency to choose to do something regularly, again and again, the body wants to do it. So that is the thing which serves the base instincts. Base means not good quality. it's perhaps something to do with sensuality and maybe the ability to eat more and things like that. So sensuality is one of the base instincts. So the higher soul or higher mortal soul will not go with the body and will not side or support the animal propensities or proclivity, meaning a tendency to choose to do something regularly. A habit being formed, that's what it means. And a habit being formed, and the body goes through that very mechanically, and the higher mortal soul will not support it. That's what Plato is saying. And this activity which the body is inventing again and again is only serving the base instincts. The lust are a product of his material body which will perish. The lusting for something means lusting for comfort, lusting for meeting, or lusting for food, drink, and all these things. The lusts are a product of his material body which will perish. So they consider body is the originator or generator of all these influences, baser instincts and lust and everything. So they say the lusts, L-U-S-T-S, the lusts are a product of his material body which will perish. They know very clearly the body perishes, so one need not go through with it after he realizes it's not required. But then the habits formed are so strong, the body wants it again and again. So the lusts are a product of his material body which will perish. Diseases also occur and the body suffers in the process. Diseases also occur and the body suffers in the process. In trying to satisfy the base instincts and lusts, it will result in diseases sometimes because you are repeating it so many times, so something will go wrong. So diseases will occur and the body suffers in the process. So this is what is the result of these habits. Crimes are due to, going back to crimes now, crimes are due to external causes and external stimulation. Somebody has stimulated or some incident has stimulated. That's why crimes are perpetrated or done. So crimes are due to external causes. They're outside him. What prompted him to do a crime, the reason is outside him. And sometimes external stimulation. Somebody has motivated him to murder somebody, or he has seen something which should not be seen, so he's thought the other person should face death. These are all the things. Stimulations means stimulation for doing a murder or crime. Crimes are due to the external causes and external stimulations. HPB says Plato makes a distinction between the causes. So causes could be external, internal. So Plato is busy making those distinctions. That's what HPB is saying. HPB says Plato made that list of differences of how the crimes take place and what are the causes, internal, external, and all that. And Plato believes humanity, he says, believes in fatalism. According to Plato, humanity believes in fatalism. What does it mean, fatalism? Fatal is normally described or associated with death, fatal. But fatalism is a method or a belief that all events are predetermined and so they are inevitable and have to be gone through. This is fatalism. He simply resigns to the fact that these things definitely will happen. I don't have a choice. That is fatalism. So humanity, he says, believes in fatalism, which is a belief that all events are predetermined and so they are inevitable and he has to go through with it. So this is what is fatalism all about. Humanity says, he says, believes in fatalism. But there is pain in life. There is pain, fear, anger, and other feelings, and they are given to men by necessity. Necessity is the reason why a man feels the pain, feels the fear, feels the anger, and other feelings. She has not listed out other feelings, but other feelings are also there. Pain, fear, anger, maybe greed, jealousy, so many things you can say. These things happen because the men are given to necessity. Necessity means they have to go through and experience those feelings for satisfying their needs. Necessity means they have to go through and experience these feelings to satisfy their needs. Fatalism is a belief that all events are predetermined, and so they go through without any resistance. They simply take it. It has to happen. It will happen. He resigns himself to that, so he allows things to happen. That is fatalism. But as far as the necessity is concerned, that is also happening. He's also going through that. The experience of that also is something like pain, fear, anger, and other feelings. And they have to be gone through because of the need and necessity of experiencing those feelings. And he says something interesting. They would live righteously if the feelings conquer him. Suppose he's able to conquer the feelings, then he will lead a life of righteousness. That's how it should have been. The people will live righteously if the feelings are conquered. If these fear, hatred, jealousy, anger, if they are taken control of, and if these feelings are conquered, then those people live righteously. Means the right kind of living, dharmic living. So when they control these things, control these feelings, and they're able to conquer these feelings, they live righteously. And if you lead a life unrighteously, if the feelings conquer him, so this is the opposite of it. So if they conquered the feelings, that means if the sadhakas or men conquered the feelings, they would live righteously. That means the various points which we have discussed some time back, pain, fear, anger, jealousy, greed, if these are taken control of, man is able to conquer those feelings, then those men will lead a righteous life, a dharmic life. But if the feelings conquer him, the converse, if the feelings conquer him, man becomes a victim of those feelings, then he will lead a life of unrighteousness. Means nothing right will be there in it. Everything may be committing crimes, committing various things which are not required. So this is what is discussed by, this is the quotation of Plato she has made. If they conquered these feelings, they would live righteously, and if the feelings conquer him, he will lead a life of unrighteousness. This is the quotation of Plato, which Madam Blavatsky has used here. And further, according to Plato, man is made of two components, actually three components. First, he said two, and then they say three components. The physical body or the animal form, as they call it. The physical body or the animal form, as they call it. Or body which has appetites. It has a lot of appetites. Various types of appetites. Hunger could be of various nature. So physical body or the animal form or body which has appetites. The second is the higher mortal soul, that is the astral body. The second is the higher mortal soul. Why is it called mortal? Because that body also will fall along with the physical body or after the physical body falls. So physical body, the animal form, the body which has appetites. The second is the higher mortal soul, astral body. And the third is the immortal spirit. Third is the immortal spirit. So there are three components according to Plato. A man has got three principles to live for or live with. Whereas Theosophy talks about 7 principles. So this is much earlier to the Theosophical Society being formed. So this is what Plato said. According to Plato, man is made of two components, actually three components: physical body, the animal form or body which has appetites, and the second is the higher mortal soul, astral body, and third is the immortal spirit. So when the immortal spirit has left the body, it leaves behind the animal form, the physical body, which is disposed of. That's the same thing even now. So when the immortal spirit has left the body, it leaves behind the animal form, the physical body, which is disposed of. The astral body, the higher mortal soul, is acting according to the instincts. The astral body, the higher mortal soul, is acting according to the instincts. At this stage, man has overcome or crossed the stage of matter or material body. Material body has already fallen because the physical body is gone. It has been disposed of. That is the connection with matter. So that body has fallen. So the connection between man, the real man, and the world has gone because the physical body has fallen. That means he has experienced what is called death. At this stage, man has overcome or crossed the stage of matter or material body. And so the evils attached to the physical body have left him. The evils attached to the physical body also have left him. This is the belief. So this is what Plato is saying. Now the astral body, if he allows, means the permanent factor in him allows. Now the astral body, if he allows, he is referring to the immortal spirit or the ultimate principle. Now the astral body, if he allows, becomes a tool in the hands of invisibles. The astral body becomes a tool in the hands of invisibles, people whom we cannot see with our ears, with our eyes, hear with our ears. So those are invisibles. The astral body, if he allows, means if the real person in us allows, it becomes a tool in the hands of invisibles, beings of astral nature. They are beings of astral nature. Astral, we can't see with the physical eye, so they become that. The astral body, when allowed to become like that, it becomes a tool in the hands of invisibles and beings of astral nature, hovering over the atmosphere. So they go flying over the atmosphere, means over the physical, but we can't see them. Hovering over the atmosphere. Otherwise, this astral body should wait to get inspired by the immortal spirit. So immortal spirit, when it inspires the astral body, it leaves that body also and goes, and maybe the factor which is living in the astral body will move towards the immortal spirit. So hovering over the atmosphere, this astral body or becomes a tool in the hands of invisibles, beings of astral nature, hovering over the atmosphere. Atmosphere means this worldly place. Otherwise, then this astral body should wait to get inspired. Otherwise means if this is not gone through, if the immortal matter has allowed the astral body to exercise its own option. Because it has exercised its own option, it has become a tool in the hands of invisibles. And so then they were hovering around the atmosphere. Otherwise, if that has not happened, what would have happened? This astral body should wait to get inspired by the immortal spirit. So it will wait patiently to be called or annexed to the immortal body, immortal spirit, and move on, says Plato. So that's how the procedure of moving from physical to superphysical or immortal spirit as dictated or as delineated by Plato. This is the method. Plato says one who lived well during his lifetime would return to his source and stay there in bliss. Plato says this. Plato says one who lived well means right living, righteous living. Plato says one who lived well during his lifetime would return to his source, means from where he came. Man came from the immortal or the ultimate. He goes back to the source. When he lived the right kind of life, when man lived the righteous life, he would return to his source and stay there in bliss. So he would reach that state of bliss. But if he fails to go to his source, that is when he has led a non-righteous life. If it is righteous life, he would perhaps go immediately to the source. But if it is non-righteous life, he did not live properly, then what happens? But if he fails to go through to his source, second time, he will be born as a woman. So suppose first time he has led the right kind of life, he has gone back to the source. Suppose first time he did not succeed. We have to read it like this. The first time he did not succeed. What would happen to him? He would be born as a woman, or at least as a person who is weak like a woman. That's how he is born second time. And still, if he doesn't improve, he has become a man, he has lived a righteous life, he has gone back to the source. Suppose he has not lived that way, suppose he has not gone back to the source, he is given a second chance where he becomes a woman or a person who is as weak as a woman. So he continues to live and tries to find a way out. But then if he doesn't improve even the second chance which he gets, then what happens? He will take the birth of a brute. He will take the birth of a brute. And he should work his first birth like incarnation, where he would work his way to get back to the source. So like the first time somebody worked hard, he led a righteous living and went to the source. The second time also, suppose he fails. As a woman, he has taken birth, or a person like a woman, he has taken birth. And there again, he has failed to make a mark. So what happens? He comes back as a brute, almost like an animal. Brute force means animal force, very strong man, but he is more like an animal. So he becomes a brute, and he should work his first birth like incarnation, where he would work his way to get back to the source. So he should move from the brute to the second, from the second to the first, and in the first again, he should lead a right kind of life that would take him back to the source. That's what it is being explained. So this is how the Platonian school thinks of only three principles in a man. Three principles in a man: the physical body, and the astral body, and the immortal spirit. So when someone has lived a right kind of life, righteous life, he goes without any hindrance to his source. That means from where he came, he will go get back to that source. But suppose he has not lived properly, and a chance is given to him to become a woman or a person who is as weak as a woman and lead a life. So at the end of it, if he is able to find his bearings, find his route, he gets into the first plane, lives that life, and gets back to the source. But suppose he fails in the second attempt, what happens? Then he is born again as a brute. So from a brute level, he has to get back to the second level to the first level, live right kind of life in the first level, then reach back his source. That is the movement which is expected of a man in Platonian philosophy. Shall we stop here, Mamata?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah, I think so, because about 3 or 10 or something like that. It's
Yes,
difficult to it is difficult to keep our attention on these matters which are not so easy. But if you make notes as we are listening, like I made notes of I'm not referring to the book now, I'm only referring to my notes. What I noted down, I read first time, I read second time, sometimes I read the third time, and then make notes. So the notes is what I'm following. So similarly, if someone makes a note as he's reading, or maybe from the textbook again by himself or herself, it will lead to better understanding. So we'll stop here. We'll continue next time. Maybe that is Wednesday. Wednesday, right? Somebody is
Yes,
talking.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
Sir, in today's class, it is more on righteous living and pure kind of living. Yes, sir.
Plato mentioned it. Plato is a great philosopher. He mentioned how the life should be lived. So for them, the Platonian division of man is only three. So the physical body, the astral body, and the immortal spirit. So if man has led the correct way of life, taking control of his baser instincts and all that, then if he has become a righteous living person, then he would move directly to the source. But if he fails there, there is a second chance given to him. That's why he becomes a woman-like. And then there again, he fails, he becomes a brute. So from the brute level, he has to come back to the second stage, come back to the first stage, and then move towards the source. That's the way in which they have explained their movement of man or the evolution of man. That's what they explained. So in any case, living rightly is expected of everybody and each and everybody, isn't it? Right kind of living is expected out of everyone if you have to make a right impact. Not for others' sake, our own sake, so that we reach, there is a perfection, there is a role which you have to play. So we move towards that, goal. So more number of births, more times we come back. So it all depends on how we take control. Yeah. Even naturopathy people use colors. I've experienced this when I was very young. So a blue glass is held in hand and a person is made to sit under the sunlight. So the blue will heal that person. Sometimes the green is used. Sometimes the water stored in a green bottle or water stored in a blue bottle is given. So all these, perhaps color therapy. And music definitely heals also. Music also heals. Music heals. But then there are certain kinds of music, he said, which will only cause excitement. Maybe some music, perhaps, I've never visited a pub. I don't know what it looks like. But the music in a pub is causing frenzy, I guess. A lot of people are excited, all right, but then there is nothing great about it to elevate you, to take you to a different level. So if you're listening to a concert of, say, somebody like maybe MS Subbulakshmi or someone like that, you are elevated. You are elevated into a different atmosphere altogether. That is the power of music.